I know that camera's like super HD, so you could probably tell I have a cold right now. But I tell you what, I value your education over my own personal health, so we're gonna get through this QTNA together, okay? I think I got sick when I went to the website and got the virus. That was terrible. I'm sorry. Whoever writes my jokes for QTNA needs to get fired. No, I think I got sick when I went to the cold site. Didn't wear my jacket. So the situation in question is we want to think about which wireless mode or configuration settings we're going to want to implement. Remember, we're at a large organization and we want to prioritize security. Two very important hints. So let's get rid of the ones that don't make sense. Well, if we're going to prioritize security, are we going to use WEP? No. WEP is that old, outdated encryption algorithm. Remember, that's the one that uses the RC4 algorithm, and it uses a really small IV, so it's really easy to crack and it's insecure. Not what we're looking for. Now, the other three have to do with WPA2, which is good, what we're looking for. That's the latest and greatest. But the problem is this one doesn't make any sense right here. Why? Because AES is actually the encryption algorithm that supports WPA2. Well, technically CCNP, but CCNP is a child algorithm off of AES. But again, this is not a mode or configuration setting, so these two are better answer choices. So we have personal versus enterprise mode. So the difference between personal and enterprise mode is authentication, okay? When we talk about enterprise mode, we get authentication. So what does that mean? Well, when we talk about wireless security, it really happens in two different ways or buckets, right? We talk about confidentiality or encryption of data, and we also talk about authentication of wireless users so we know who's actually connecting to our network, right? It's great to have wireless confidentiality and encryption. That's like the minimum, right? But anytime we can layer security on, especially layering on authentication, that's really good for security as well. So you're typically not going to see enterprise mode when it comes to like a personal use, for example, your home router. But in a large organization, you actually have the resources and infrastructure to set up maybe a centralized radius server that can support WPA2 enterprise mode. So you guys have heard about 802.1x, right? That is the wireless standard for WPA2 enterprise. You're typically seeing that implemented in a large organization, and it's going to definitely prioritize security. Okay, so that was kind of just the basics of personal versus enterprise mode. Let's dive a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more through the command line. So to help visualize the difference between personal and enterprise mode, we're going to open the command line. And in the command line, we're going to open or type in the command netsh, which stands for network shell. And basically what we're looking at here is all the profiles of our wireless LAN. And that just means we're going to list all of the access points or the SSIDs that this computer has actually connected to. So a few of them are kind of grayed out for privacy, but of course there's just one that we want to talk about, port KFE, because I've seen a lot of very clever SSID names, but that one is definitely up there. My personal favorite is Girls Gone Wireless, but that's also good. So I can probably guess that this is actually a personal kind of at-home network, right? So I can actually learn a little bit more about port KFE or Wi-Fi, and I will run a command that basically sees that if I can pull the password that I actually typed in when I connected to this network. So by typing in, or trying to make our key clear, that just means show the key in clear text. So once you kind of type this, you get an output, and where we're mostly interested in learning is the security settings right here. So think about it. It's telling us some very valuable information. One, some stuff we already knew, right? It's running in WPA2 personal mode, so there's no authentication. It's using CCNP, which makes sense because it's running WPA2. That's the actual cipher. But right there, look, it tells you the key content, which is space cats, because of course the person who, made this is a cat person. Now, let's run a very similar command, but let's try it on a network that I actually know is running in enterprise mode. So we're going to actually get less information. So when we run it in enterprise mode, again, we're looking for the security settings. So what does it tell us? WPA2 enterprise mode. That means there's authentication. So you notice that when it says key content, it says absent. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's an open network. It just means we're not necessarily passing a password when we actually connect to that access point or that network, right? What we're actually doing here is is authenticating based on when we logged onto our machine onto a corporate network, right? So you can even see the protocol that we're using when we authenticate and connect, which is EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol. It's actually PEEP, which stands for Protected EAP, and that's when you kind of wrap EAP in a TLS tunnel. But the idea is, again, we are authenticating using the EAP protocol rather than passing a password across the network, okay? So that's why enterprise mode is a little bit safer, and enterprise mode is typically seen in a large-scale organization, okay? So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you felt this QTNA was a little more hands-on. We're definitely going to have a lot more hands-on learning in future QTNAs, and I will see you next week, and I promise to be over my cold next week and back with some good content. See you then.